F.O.R.D, family, occupation, recreation, and dreams. If you've spent any time in the ninja selling world, you've heard this or read about it in chapters 24, 28, and 31 of the book. In short, you ask F.O.R.D questions in your conversations, listen for change, and record what you learn. These conversations are what enable you to be less transactional and more relational with the people in your database. But where does that information actually live? And more importantly, how do you make sure it's right in front of you when you pick up the phone or walk into a meeting with that person 6 months from now? That's what this video is about. Let me show you exactly how PulsePoint HQ makes that easy. We're going to touch on concepts taught in chapter 31 of the book Ninja Selling if you want to reference that and see how it overlaps into our discussion today. When you open any contact record, you'll find the standard contact information at the top, including names, phone numbers, and emails for each of the primary contacts in the household. You'll also notice gender icons next to each name. I know that might seem like a small detail, but it matters more than you'd think, especially if you have an assistant like me making calls or sending cards on your behalf. Names don't always match what we'd expect. I had a client once, her name was Danny. Everyone called her that even though her legal name was Danielle. Danny is how I'd address her and how her name was saved. If my assistant was reaching out without knowing that, they'd have no idea they were calling a woman. And if they're sending a birthday card, are they grabbing the floral one or the more neutral one? The gender icon removes that guesswork instantly. Below the contact information, you'll find the mailing address, and this is specifically their mailing address, not necessarily where all their real estate holdings are located. Someone might own multiple properties, and that's fine. That information lives elsewhere. Below the mailing address are your important dates, and this is where the F in F.O.R.D starts to come into play. You've got birthday fields for each contact in the household, wedding anniversary, and home anniversary if applicable. Fill these in as you have them, and don't worry about remembering to check them every day. PulsePoint HQ shows these for you automatically, and we cover exactly how in another video. Just know that this is where that information lives. Now, for the rest of our F.O.R.D notes, plus real estate, that's where the notes section comes in. Here's my personal system, and I'd encourage you to copy it. I keep a simple template saved on my desktop. Every time I add a new contact, I open that template, copy it, and paste it as the first note in their contact record. My template looks something like this: family, kids' names, ages, parents, pets, anything personal worth remembering. Occupation, what do they do for a living? Where do they work? Recreation, what do they enjoy? Hobbies, sports, travel. Dreams, what are they working toward? What do they talk about wanting? Real estate, their current real estate portfolio. I personally have chosen to add extra categories because I like tracking how I met them, any referrals they've given me, and also prior transactions I've closed with them. I just do this because it's the information I want to be able to look back and see, but the whole point is that you can customize it to you. Once I've pasted that template in and hit Save Note, I immediately select the pin icon to pin it to the top of their notes. That way, no matter how many other notes I add over time for this household, my F.O.R.D template is always the first thing I see when I open that contact. Now, here's something I want to make sure you know, because this is what keeps the system simple over time. Anytime you have a conversation with someone and learn something new, their kid got into a new school, they're thinking about a vacation home, or they just changed jobs, you don't need to create a new note for it. Just select the pencil icon on your pinned F.O.R.D note, add or update the information right there, and save. It stays pinned, it stays current, and it stays easy to find. My F.O.R.D notes that have been modified over time look something like this. For anything more time sensitive, like a follow-up reminder or something you want to bring up on your next call, go ahead and add a separate note for that. Say they mentioned they're headed to Italy next month and that you want to remember to ask them how the trip was the next time you connect. Add that as its own note and go ahead and pin it too. Now you've got two pinned notes, your F.O.R.D template and your Italy reminder. Both are easy to see the moment you open that contact. Once you've had that follow-up conversation and you ask about the trip and how it went, you can simply unpin that note. It'll drop back down into its chronological place in the list. Or if you don't need it at all anymore, go ahead and delete it entirely. Notes and dates are time-stamped, so you'll always have a record of when something was first entered. Pin what's relevant, unpin what's done, and delete what you no longer need. It's that simple. You've heard of the Ninja 9, and number 8 is your 50 live interviews weekly. Those live conversations are exactly where your F.O.R.D information comes from. Here's the habit I've built around it. Every day I ask myself 2 questions. Who did I talk with today, and what did I learn about them? Then I open their contact record, update my pinned F.O.R.D note with changes, or add a separate note for anything I want to remember short term. 30 seconds is literally all it takes. Over time, those little updates are what make every future conversation I have with them feel personal and warm, because I'm bringing up the things that matter to them, and that tells them I was actually listening to them. Larry Kendall says it best in his book, simpler is better. If the system is too complicated to set up, load, and use, most realtors won't maintain it. That's the standard we held ourselves to when building this. Simple to set up, simple to update, and all information right where you need it every single time.